Welcome back to Brent's Hang. I'm Brent Barnett. This is hardware makeover number 7. And that just implies that there's been 6 before. And those of you that haven't seen them, you should go back and watch them because they're pretty cool. But anyways, this is the video where you guys send me video and pictures of your setup, and I choose one each month to remake in my own way using Gibraltar Hardware. So let's see who number 7 is. Can I get the envelope, please? Did someone forget the envelope? Are we doing them this time? Do we have a name?
Dude, it's Mark Antonio.
Who?
Mark Antonio.
Mark Antonio! So let's see what Mark gave us to work with. He's got 3 rack toms, which consists of 8, 10, 12. And then he's got 2 floor toms, 14, 16, a kick drum, 22-inch, and then 2 snares, 14-inch snares. Now, for cymbals, he's got 2 main crashes, and he's got 3 splashes, and then a stacker splash setup, which I thought was really cool. He's got a china, a ride, and then 2 hi-hats. He's got a very interesting setup. It's a pretty decent size, but it's, different than what I'm used to setting up, which I like. This one was fun. Mark's using a hybrid rack type setup. He's using a 2-sided hybrid rack setup to hold everything. There's no bar over the bass drum, just 2 side racks. Now, the main supports for each side rack, on the left-hand side, we've got a double tom stand that has a 46-inch curved bar connected to it, connected to a back rack leg. Now, on the right side, his floor tom side, the front support is his ride cymbal, and he connected a 46-inch curved bar off that all the way to a back rack leg to support the back portion. Then he just filled in the gaps with everything. So I took a little bit different approach to this setup. We all know that racks are very efficient and they're great for mounting a lot of gear. But for those of you guys that would prefer to place stands, I wanted to show you all the pieces of hardware that you can use to do the exact same setup, but using stands and using minimal amount of stands, as opposed to having everything have its own stand and it takes you 2 hours to set up your kit. Okay, so what I did was I broke this entire kit down into 4 sections, 4 chunks. I grouped everything together. Now there's only 4 stands on this whole kit. So starting from the first chunk, which is the far left-hand side, which is right here, we've got our 12-inch tom and our auxiliary snare. Now, just to clarify, yes, this is a 13-inch tom. I know you guys noticed the difference in the 1-inch, but I had to. I didn't have an 8-inch tom. Someone jacked it. So all I had was 10, 12, 13. I didn't have 8, 10, 12. Sorry, Mark. But for the first chunk, what I did was I grouped my main crash, 12-inch tom, and auxiliary snare together all in one unit, and I'm using the stealth rack to do that. Now, this is great because this is showing another example, another use on how you can incorporate the stealth rack into your setup. It's not being used as your main tom and snare rig. It's an auxiliary type setup. So I've got my 14 snare, 12-inch, 13, 12-inch, 13, and my main crash all mounted to one unit, which is the stealth rack. Section 2 is our rack tom setup. We've got our 8 and 10-inch toms offset from the kick drum, our 2 splashes mounted directly over the 8 and 10-inch toms, and then we've got a stacker splash overlapping the 8-inch and the hi-hat. Now, I chose to mount all 5 of these items to one stand, which is the quad mount stand. It's the 6713 QP. It has 2 L-arms to mount toms to, and then 2 clamps in the back to hold 2 cymbals. So what I did was I mounted the 2 splashes out of the back of the 2 clamps, and then I mounted my splash stacker to the same L-rod that I mounted my 8-inch tom to. So moving over to the right side of the kit, we've got section 3, which is our ride cymbal and splash. Now, I chose to use the 9713 PM, which is an adjustable platform mount stand. I know it's a messed up acronym, but whatever. It's a 3-mount tom stand, and 2 of the clamps adjust, so you can adjust where you want to position your toys or accessories that you are mounting to the stand. Now, I only mounted 2 things to this. I've got the ride and then the splash. So that leaves 1 clamp available if I want to add an accessory to it. So now we're in section 4. I've got 3 cymbals and I'm using the 9713 PM to mount everything, but I've got 1 clamp in that stand left over. I'm gonna show you how I did it. So now I've got my X-hat boom arm holding the hi-hats directly to the stand. I've got my right main crash mounted with a long boom arm directly into the stand as well. Now the china is utilizing the same boom arm that the main crash is using. I'm just using an accessory tilter, the SC-DCT, to attach to the other end of the boom rod. So now I've got one cymbal arm that's holding two cymbals, and that leaves me with one clamp left over. So the product highlights of this setup are the Stealth Rack, which is the GS VMS kit. We have the quad mount tom stand, 6713 QP. We have the tri-mount adjustable tom stand, which is the 9713 PM. And then we've got the cymbal tilter adapter that fits on the end of a boom, the SC-DCT. Now for those of you that don't really want to play a rack, but you still want all the floor space cleared up, you still want the ease of setup and teardown, you still want minimal stands, this is a great option. Well, that's it for this month's episode of Kit Hardware Makeover. Mark, thank you very much for your submission. I really appreciate it. I loved messing around with your kit. It's very unique and it's very different. I love different things. Now, for those of you that still want to submit, please send all pictures and video to brenthang.gibraltar@gmail.com. And for those of you that have submitted already this whole last year, you're still in the running. I've got a laundry list of things that I want to do. I just don't have the time to do it right now. So you're still there. You're still in it. You could be there. Just hold on. See you next time.